How do you take care of enforcing biological fathers to collect the funds that they owe to the kids that need that monthly support to meet their daily needs?
Thank you for the question. The way I understand the question is a couple has a child and they separate, and the court orders the father to pay child support. And the current method is they come to the employer, and the employer is required to subtract the court-ordered amount from the paycheck. So I think that mechanism works. I'd be glad to listen to somebody if they say that mechanism is not working, but it appears to me to be a pretty solid mechanism to get the money to the child. The issue that I do see is in many of those situations, the father's making very little money, and it's very difficult to support two households on very little money, and there's just not a good solution to that other than making more money, and that's, I'm sure they've thought about that idea, so thank you.
That is a difficult issue, and it always makes me nervous when people bring up child support, because basically we're talking about a situation where the government, the court, the laws, whatever, is going to insert itself into a family situation, how a man and a woman are raising their children. I want to avoid that whenever possible. Problem is, when two parents break up and they've got kids and they just can't come to an agreement to do what's right for the kids, instead of focusing on whatever their personal disagreements are, that's a shame. I hate for the state to have to step in when that happens, but sometimes we do, because that's a sign that two parents aren't putting their kids' interests first. And the state's interest there is to say, hey, Mom, Dad, your problems are your problems, but the fact is that child, those children need this much money to live and eat, and we're going to make sure they've got that support. And so when Mom and Dad can't resolve that, the state does have to step in, and I think we have a good system for that. A couple years ago, the legislature revised the payment schedule. They tried to make it a little more fair. There were some bumps in the numbers. It's a big spreadsheet thing, and don't get me started on a spreadsheet today. But the state's done some good reform on those numbers, and I think we need to be firm with that and say, Moms, Dads, don't care what your issue is. Take care of your kids. They come first.
Kevin, could I have you repeat the question, please?
How do you take care of enforcing the biological fathers to collect the funds they owe to the kids that need the monthly support so that their daily needs are met?
See, I thought that's how I understood it. What I understand there is it's the counter to what I think we generally understand. I think it's probably written by somebody who has a custodial father in the picture, and maybe he isn't able to collect. Regardless, it's important that we enforce our child support laws, whether it's a mother or a father. Here's one of the reasons that I continue to do this job is I was in a grocery store one day and a lady said to me, "Are you Rob Greenfield?" And I said, "Yes." She says, "I just have to shake your hand." She said, "I called you several months ago and told you about my husband," and she said, "We had never met before, but I just had a feeling that you could help me get something done." She says, "Now he's starting to make payments." He was over $10,000 behind in child support. I made a call to DSS. I helped them track this gentleman down, and again, he began making payments. It's so important. Those conflicts are extraordinarily difficult, but it's what's in the best interest of the children, and that's making sure that the custodial parent can make ends meet, and provide for their necessities. Again, I appreciate the question, and thank you.
I'll just add my accountant's 2 cents. You know that employers are required to report their new hires to the State Department of Labor just as soon as they get them hired, and that's because that is an effort to keep up with people who move around, and so that child support enforcement orders can be utilized. 2 the trouble, but one problem that you run into there is our off-the-books economy. If someone is determined to work for cash and has an employer who is cooperative in that regard, pays them off the books, then it's really hard to get a child support enforcement order functional. And so, as an accountant, that's another one of my pet peeves is people who don't pay attention to payroll rules.
All right, we got about